As we move into 8.4, your factoring skills really have to be on par today. Whether you use the box method or the grouping method or guess and check, you really need to be able to factor today. So part 1, we're going to talk about rational algebraic expressions. Your steps are factor each part as much as possible, and if you have an exponent of 1, make sure that you move it to, well, if it's on the top, move it to the bottom. If it's on the bottom, move it to the top. All right, every problem today we need to identify if it is a GCF or a factoring problem. Look at double parentheses. We'll just call it box for those of you who use the box. Everybody else grouping and guess and check. Just if I write the word box, that means that you need to factor it. When I look at the top here, I see a GCF, and the GCF is X. And in the bottom, I can see that this is written backwards. Well, when something is written backwards, we actually need to take out a negative sign and change the subtraction around. So it's going to change it to a positive x squared and a minus 4. This is going to happen very often in the notes today because it happens a lot in the homework, so I changed some of the notes. This particular stuff inside of here, this is a box problem or a factoring problem because it has an x squared and it's a perfect square. So what I would suggest you do is have a scrap piece of paper and factor on the side. So we need AC to be -4, B is 0, so we will use 2 and -2. Then you will make your box, put x squared in the top, a minus 4 in the bottom, your 2x and your -2x here. Find your GCF of x and -2 and x in 2, and now we have it factored. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to rewrite our problem. So the top becomes our GCF of x, and when I take an x out, I get x minus 2. So I factored the top. Now for the bottom. I had a negative sign, and I decided that that turned into what I have on my paper here, x minus 2 and x plus 2. Now you look up and down. Do you see how I have an exact match of x minus 2 and x minus 2? Those cancel each other. This x and this x do not cancel each other. My Algebra 1 students say this isn't a force field. You can't cancel a binomial with a monomial. So I am done. The answer is a negative from the bottom, an x on the top, and an x plus 2 on the bottom. Again, do not try to cancel these x's. That's a monomial, that's a binomial. Don't cancel them. Example 2. I see that I have an x, and since this was to the -1 power, it actually belongs down below because it was to the -1 power. So I'm going to get rid of that little circle because that looks super messy. I could factor this. It would be the exact same as what I did here, but I would have x over x plus 2 and x minus 2. Nothing in this problem factors. Cancels. This problem is done. These x's can't cancel because these are binomials, and this is a monomial. Example 3. This is going to be a box problem. This is, I need to take, you know what, I need to look. This is negative. You see how that guy's negative? He's my biggest term. I need to take a negative out. So I'm actually going to, let's see, I think I can write that right there. If I take a negative out and I rearrange it, that's going to be a positive 2x squared. That's going to be a minus 5x, and that's pretty important, and a minus 3. Now I will also label this as a box problem. You really need to be able to factor. I'm not going to factor all of these for you today, one by one. I'm going to start on the first page, and then I'm just going to say, okay, pause the video and factor it, and you're going to have to kind of be responsible to do that. So I have x squared minus 9, and I need to box it. I would say AC is -9. Because it's 1 times -9, and B is 0. This is why I had you do that factoring paper when I wasn't here. All right, I know my numbers I need to pick are 3 and -3 to make that work, and my box or my factoring would be x squared up here, minus 9 down here, a 3x and a -3x, and when I factor I pull out an x minus 3 and an x with a positive 3. So that's how the top factors. And I know I'm flying through the factoring, but I told you guys you needed to review your factoring skills if you wanted to be successful in Chapter 8. Now the bottom, I know I have a negative sign, and I know I will have a double parenthesis, so I'm going to use this paper to factor the bottom. So let's see, it's 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. So AC is negative 6 because of the 2 and the negative 3. B is negative 5. My two numbers I need to use are negative 6 and positive 1. That would multiply and add the way I need it to. I'm going to put 2x squared up here. I'm going to put a minus 3 down here. Negative 6x here, 1x here. GCF of 2x, GCF of 1. GCF of x, GCF of minus 3. Chapter 8, we assume you know how to factor. So I'm going to put an x minus 3 and a 2x plus 1 on the bottom. X minus 3, 2x plus 1 on the bottom. I notice that the x minus 3's are exactly the same up and down, so I cancel them out. My final answer is an x plus 3 over a 2x plus 1 with a negative sign out front. Number 4. I know that up here, not only do I have, well, let's see, this is supposed to be on the bottom. That's the first thing I think we need to notice. So that belongs on the bottom. So that was 6x squared minus 5x plus 1. And the reason it belonged on the bottom is because it had an exponent of negative 1. I don't like this problem at all at the top. First of all, you do need to notice that you need to pull out a negative x. So I have a GCF of negative x. I am going to pull that out and put it in order at the same time. If I divide this by negative and x, I get positive 2x squared. If I divide this by negative and x, I get positive 5x. If I divide this by negative x, I get a negative 3. So first I found out that there was a GCF. Now what I'm going to notice is that this can further get factored by doing the box, as can the bottom. I'm going to do the box one more time for all of you, but first, why don't we take this GCF of negative x and put it on the top, okay? And I did negative because the biggest one was negative. All right, let's go ahead and I guess I can do that right here for this top problem right here. So I have 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. AC is negative 6, B is positive 5. So that's going to be a positive 6 and a negative 1. When you multiply and add, you do your box. 2x squared, negative 3, 6x and negative 1x. Now it's time to find GCF. So the GCF here is 2x. The GCF here of x. GCF here is 3. GCF here is negative 1. So I'm going to have an x plus 3 on the top and a 2x minus 1. An x plus 3, and what was it? A 2x minus 1 on the top. Now for the bottom. Oh, I got another box to do. So I'll fold this paper in. Actually, I'll just use the back side here. So we have 6x squared minus 5x plus 1. So AC is a positive 6, B is a negative 5. I need to multiply, so I'm going to use a negative 2 and a negative 3. That will multiply to positive 6, add to negative 5. 10 for my box. 6x squared up here. Oops, sorry, that was real small. 1 down here. Negative 2x, negative 3x. GCF, 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 and GCF. So 2x minus 1 and 3x minus 1. All right. Again, your factoring skills have to be on par. Please stay after if you're struggling with factoring. That's not actually a Chapter 8 skill. They assume you know how to factor in Chapter 8. Now we'll just write what we have left. We have the monomial, negative x, x plus 3, and a binomial, 3x minus 1. That's our final answer. Now, I am not going to factor like on my separate sheet for you anymore because something you should be able to do. Instead, what I'm going to say to you is I want you to pause the video and factor this problem. Okay. Part 2, you're going to have products and quotients. So you're really just going to have 2 problems in one. Your goal is to factor anything that factors and cancel anything that cancels. And that's pretty much what this says. The only trick is when you are dividing fractions, make sure you flip the second one and change it to multiplication. Other than that, the steps are the same. Factor what you can, see if you can pull a negative out, cancel anything you can, and then just put your stuff back together. All right, example 5. I do not like how that's written. I'm actually going to rewrite my problem. I don't like that this is negative right here. So I'm going to pull out a negative sign. And when I pull out a negative sign, I get positive x squared minus x minus 6. And anything else, that's in order, that's in order. This one's not in order. So I notice that I can pull out not only a negative sign, but also a negative 3 and an x. Negative 3 and an x. That one had a really big GCF on it. Always look for GCFs. So when I pull that out, it's going to change this to a positive x. It's going to change this to a minus 2. So I pulled out a GCF of negative 3x out of this one. Now I'm going to go through and see if there's any boxes. This would be a box. This one would be a box. Then this one would be a box. So here's what you really should do. You should pause the video and you should do factoring for this one, and this one. I'm gonna wait for a little bit, and then I will write down what you should have got as the answers. So go ahead and try it. I'm just setting it up. Okay, hopefully you have tried all of these on your own. In the top left, hopefully you got x minus 3 and x plus 2 when you did the box. When you did the bottom left, hopefully you got x plus 2 and x minus 2. And hopefully when you did this one, you got x minus 3 and x minus 3. If you are struggling factoring, please make sure you stay after and get some additional help. Now, anything on the top at all, you can cancel with anything on the bottom at all. So you see how I have an x minus 3 over here on the top? That cancels with this x minus 3 over here on the bottom, even though it's not part of the same fraction. See this x minus 2? Cancels with this x minus 2, even though they're not in the same fraction. This x plus 2 cancels with this x plus 2. And do not try to cancel these. This is a monomial. This is a binomial. They do not cancel. For your final answer, you have negative 3x over x minus 3. Let's try this again. What's really nice, let's see, I have a couple of things written on this one. This one is division, so flip the bottom, so flip the second, I apologize, and change to multiplication. I'll try to change that on yours before I print it. Flip the second one and change it to multiplication. So we are actually not going to have this fraction at all. Instead, we'll have a3x on the top and 3y on the bottom. Okay? And there would be a multiply sign there. All right, let's just go ahead and look at example 6. And this applies for example 2. Every single one of these items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all of these, every single one is a monomial. See how there's no adding or subtracting? So none of them are going to need factored. That is really nice. Monomials do not factor. So in this problem, I literally will have 6xy over a squared, no factoring, a3x over 3y. And now I will cancel any monomial with any other monomial. So I see this y and this y straight up cancel each other. I see a3 on the top and a2 on the bottom. Well, if you can picture having, I'll try to do it like this. If you have 3 on the top and 2 on the bottom, that cancels 2 down here and 2 up here, so you have 1 on the top. So these all go away, and this changes to just a single on the top. I don't see any other x's on the bottom, But do you see this 6 and this 3? 6 divided by 3 is 2. So you are left with a 2, an x, an a, and an x on the top only. So the answer is 2a x squared. Let's try that again, but with just numbers. This one is division, this should say, so flip the second one and change it to multiplication. So I'm going to keep my 5 over 4, but instead of having 8 over 1, I'm going to have 1 over 8. I see nothing on the top and bottom that cancels, so I do 5 times 1 is 5 over 4 times 8 is 32. That does not reduce. That's the end.